We will call this meeting to order. Regular city council meeting, City of Dalhart, Monday, April 22nd, 2024. First item on the agenda is the prayer. Parker, would you lead us in prayer, please?
Lord, thank you for letting us be able to gather here tonight. I pray that you guide us to make wise decisions for the city and its citizens and employees, God. I thank you for the warmer weather. I pray that you bring us some moisture, Lord, and just bless us in this barren land, Lord. Pray that you're with all the employees as they go throughout this week, Lord. Just be with them and guide them safely, Lord. And I just pray that you're with everyone in the city as we go throughout this week and the end of the month, Lord, and just be with us always. In your name we pray. Amen.
Please stand with me as we recite the pledge to the United States and Texas flags. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. First item on the agenda is a consent agenda consisting of minutes from April 8th, 2024 and March financials and bills.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 1, public comments. Item number 2, discuss and or take action upon TMRS restricted prior service credit.
So when TMRS came and met with all of the employees about the retirement, this was something that came about. And so anyone that has service with a state government agency, they can get the years of service, but they don't get, it doesn't increase their monetary value that's in their retirement. So if somebody had 20 years with a school district, they can have that. They can, which they would be eligible to retire sooner, but it's not going to make the monetary value any higher.
So basically your time at your previous state job, one's time to roll over to the next
Correct.
job. Is that correct?
Mhm. Yes.
Correct.
So
Any other discussion on item number 2?
I guess my question was, it says the city's contribution rate will not be immediately affected by the adoption of this provision. However, because this credit allows employees time credit for vesting retirement eligibility requirements, the city's contribution rate will reflect the cost as the employees qualify for the credit.
right, and it's no more than 0.10%. And it just depends, they can't tell us how much because they don't know who's actually going to fill out the paperwork and do it.
So that was my only holdup on that.
So for $100, the increase would be 0.01% would be $1.
No, it would be less than that.
What?
Be less.
Be 10 cents.
10 cents.
10 cents, okay. Yes, 0.01, yeah. So it's for every $100, it's 10 cents.
'Cause don't they do this like the school districts?
I don't know that answer here in Texas. I know that any prior service with like another state, we could carry it over. Joe's an example. Yeah, how many years? 35 years. So if he brought those years to the city, he would be eligible for retirement tomorrow, but it's not going to increase his monthly pay out. The only thing he gets through that retirement is what he's paid in here at the city.
It's the same thing in essence when I retired from the state. You can buy your military time, but you can also apply for it without, you have to buy it if it's going to increase your annuity, which I didn't buy, but it enhanced my retirement, brought it up by 2 years. And stuff, just made it that I could retire quicker. So
2 years
it's
old.
the same aspect, so.
And it would do the same thing, so it's any state or other federal agencies that they can bring in.
Right, and military.
Entertain a motion that we approve the TMRS restricted fire service credit.
All in favor?
Uh,
Any opposed? Item number 3, discuss and or act upon an application for planning and zoning commission. We had one guy apply for this. We have a committee, what we call a committee of committees set up for this. That vet those applications. And it's my understanding that this did not go through that committee of committees. So again, I'm big on these committees not wasting their time with what they're doing. So it's my recommendation that we table this application until we have time for the.
Make the motion, we table the application for planning and zoning.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 4, discuss and or act upon agreement for contracting services for City of Water Department.
Okay, this contract is for, between the city and also Dennis Rojas. I hired him earlier because our one licensed person, C license, left the company. And if you don't know that, if you don't have at least a C license for water and a B license for wastewater, that the state can charge you up to $1,500 a day in penalties. I made a decision to go do this forward because of an emergency, but I'm here tonight to go ask for the council to approve the proposed contract agreement. The contract agreement, Dennis also does some contractor, independent water contract with Dumas. And what we have agreed upon in this agreement, that it would be the same as what he does for Dumas. So it does, both rates would be the same, and the license costs also. This contract is for initially 2 months because it gives me a chance to see if we can go fill it permanently across the board. We also having a number of the water folks studying right this moment to get some C licenses. One of the gaps we have right this moment is we don't have a lot of folks that have licenses. So we're going to try to go get that together. So after 2 months, and I think that's it will be renewed on a monthly basis. So therefore, at any one time, when we fill that position, we can either on both sides, either party at any time, for any reason, can give a 15-day notice to the other party to end the contract. So that's where we're at right this moment. Some of the things that we have in effect here is we talked about what's the agreement and what he's planning on doing. And some of the things that I think is important, and the reason why I think, and also Dennis has been working for the city for, I heard last night, 31 years in the water. So he has a great depth of knowledge for our, and in particular. Again, what we will receive from this contract is a Class C groundwater operator and a Class B wastewater operator license to go. He will do some training. He'll provide consulting both for anyone in the city. He also will provide consulting work for the prevention of maintenance schedule. So it's a whole thing. It's just not just waiting until we ask them. He's going to be proactive in trying to get some of our procedures in place, that we have consistent procedures that are repeatable. He's also going to look at what we have right this moment and see if there's any concerns. Right now, I have not heard anything on that. And also, what's our department's safety programs also. I'm real sensitive to that right this moment for safety of the employees. He will also prepare state reports with TCQ personnel if there's any questions. Again, maintain water and wastewater programs. So my recommendation right this moment is that we accept this contract with Mr. Rojas. I'm open up for any questions if you have.
I guess my question is, Mr. Rojas is running for city council. How will that affect this contract if he does win that council seat?
I have had our attorneys look at it. Is Brian, are you on there?
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes. Great question. We did look at that. And in a little bit of a surprise, to me, it's not an issue, because he's an independent contractor. The prohibitions only come in when, you're dealing with employees. So there's a couple of AG opinions that just dictate that, independent contractors, it doesn't trigger those kind of incompatibility issues. If there was ever, so like if the agreement that you're approving tonight, if he was on the council and it came before the council, obviously he wouldn't be able to participate in that discussion or that decision. But that's kind of a separate issue than if he would have to resign or not do that. So. Yeah, good,
So I
good
just wanted to
question.
make sure
That's-
we were totally fine.
I had the same concern. That's why
Yeah,
we asked that question.
yep, great question.
Mayor, the only question I had was the authority of managerial direction to the employees, the power chain of command in relationship to the employees.
He would answer to you, correct?
Yes.
He would tell you whatever, and then you would go tell the employees.
Public work.
That's.
Works director.
I would be concerned with that because if he would tell me something, someone who's not a subject matter expert in the water, I sure don't want to go repeat something that I thought I heard, which was not what I told other people. That would be my concern. Now, will we talk about any major issues across the board? You bet. Are we going to have meetings on a weekly basis? You bet. So we'll have hands-on across the board. I'm already out running around looking at different projects as we go right this moment, from the rehab of the water tanks to the reclaimed water system at the park. So, and I'm also going to be visiting this week the water plants. So I'm more of a hands-on guy that's sitting back in that corner. I don't particularly see how you run a city with just sitting back in that corner. So, and the transfer station's also my love.
So the question is giving direction to job responsibilities, dictating what they're supposed to do.
Are you talking about Ken giving direction
No,
to
sir,
Dennis?
I'm talking about
The employees
the-
in the water department?
person at the contract, yes.
Okay,
Who has the managerial authority, what authority he has in
I
management.
guess my opinion, however Ken decides he wants to handle that.
Brian, you have a comment on that? That's a concern that I didn't think about, to be honest with you, on giving directions, especially if he gets on council to employees. What's your thought about that, Brian?
No, I mean, again, he's gonna have to stick to what we've got in there, kind of providing that oversight but kind of day-to-day stuff. I mean, that's gonna have to be someone else. So I mean, you're gonna have that city
Okay.
manager's gonna have some more hands-on. Because really, again, he's consulting and such. So.
And the way we have it set up right this moment, is that Daniel runs the day-to-day, both on the water and the wastewater, and we're trying to get other folks across the board. But point well taken. And I'll have to think about how we communicate, either I'm there when they make major. Now, day-to-day of doing the testing, whatever, we have procedures for that, and I think Daniel can do it. It's when we get into a more complicated issue that I'm gonna have to be more hands-on and be present there. Okay, that's,
I mean, Dennis's license are covering us,
yeah.
really,
Mhm.
what it
But
is.
but it sounds like Daniel, right? Is that the name of the employee that's gonna be? kinda-
He's our supervisor right this
So I mean,
moment.
he's leading out there. Again, the independent contractor is gonna kind of provide that guidance and overseeing as a resource to him, but he's gonna be the one
Right.
directing
Right,
the
make-
other employees. Yeah,
And Daniel does have a B license in wastewater. He doesn't have anything for the groundwater across the board.
It's my opinion, if we can be fined up to $1,500 a day by not having this, and it's gonna cost us $1,800 a month. plus $75 per hour, I think it's, something we definitely need to pursue.
I'm entertaining the motion that we accept the agreement contractual service for the Dalhart Water Department.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Item number 5. Discuss and or act upon conveyance of the city of Dalhart's old gun range property located in the industrial park to be transferred to the Economic Development Corporation.
So some of this comes in, several years ago when the city conveyed the property to the EDC as the industrial park. Somewhere the gun range that was there at that time that was located was inside the property. And it kind of fell between the cracks. We're not exactly sure where it came into. So 2016, you see the blue outline, that was what was conveyed from the city to the EDC. They reserved 5 tracks. There's one I'm not showing there because it's in their bottom. I forgot to color in. Most of the tracks aren't really affected, but the gun range is. So this is how the industrial park overlays. You can see all the plat that they drew and approved in 2017. And they did not reserve any of those exempted lots. There it is with nothing colored in where it's open. But then there's where you see the plat and you see the red is where the gun range sits. Okay. So that gun range was originally reserved and exempted from the transfer from the city to the EDC. Unfortunately, during this process, they took the plat. As they began to move forward, they looked at the plat. This kind of fell somehow between the cracks, and properties were began to being sold and so forth without realizing that the EDC does not own the gun range. Okay. We've actually sold the lot there in yellow. And that was before we came, and you see where the gun over. So the gun range and that property overlap each other. So we need to clean this up because that property we have given title to that property owner, even though it was still that the gun range is still owned by the city and not the EDC. So that's what we're looking at trying to convey. We also have a person that's interested in buying the blue lot, which takes in the other ones. The other 2 pink lots would also encompass some of the gun range. So what we're looking at is for the city to convey that back to the EDC. We clean that issue up. We can extend and make sure that those properties have clear titles still and so forth. Okay. Any questions?
If I may, Mayor, I would like to make a point at this time that the filing of the plat in the original state, there was questionable actions taken at that time. So that's part of one of these issues came up because notation by the planning and zoning at one point, they never saw the plat, and we can find no record that the city council saw the plat, and it has been filed. So we lacked the area of discovery at that time, which causing this issue.
Any other discussion?
Is the gun range gonna stay there?
But the gun range, it's no longer a gun range.
But they're gonna level out the dirt and.
It's being leveled out now. Like I said, we don't own some of that berm has already been removed because that property is, as part of that landowner thinks that's their property. And so we've allowed them to do that. The rest of the gun range, that some of that berm will be removed. We have other people that have asked could they have the dirt, and we've said they could have it. Just to get it down and help clean up the property.
Did I miss that you gave the ramifications that what would possibly happen if we did not convey the property?
If that landowner decides that they want to come back to us, because we have given, the EDC has given them clean title, it puts us liable. We have to buy the property back at what value they set it at. Because, we've given them title to a property we don't have.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Absolutely.
Make a motion that we convey the property back to the EDC to correct the deeds and the ownership issues.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 6, discuss and or act upon resolution 2024-04, authorizing the bullet resistant grant program for the city of Dalhart Police Department.
So when these grants come up, I try to apply for them where we can. Take advantage of government's money. So we just recently got rifle plated vests in that we worked on a grant I did last year. And so this is another one, but this one actually gives the officer a shield. So depending on circumstances and vehicles, one might be better over the other, or two be better than nothing at all. So I've done all the stuff for the grant. It's been submitted. There's just a few required documents and a resolution from the city is one of those required. And we did the same thing for the rifle vests. And so the city purchased the vest, and then the federal government kicked that back to us, or let's say the federal government, the governor's office kicked that money back to us relatively quick and put it right back in the banks. It was 100% covered, so we weren't out any money just for a short period of time. So the same thing, just puts a shield in every vehicle is my goal there, and then one in the school.
Any other discussion?
Entertain the motion that we approve resolution 2020-4 for the authorization of the resistant grant program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item number 7, discuss and or take action on ratifying the incentive grants from the Economic Development Corporation to Jagu Lodging LLC, doing business as HTO.
Okay, so basically, part of the program of our EDC was set up, a year ago. We started looking at doing incentive grants to help promote new businesses and retain businesses here in town. We've given some small ones, and we finally had a large one come up. So Jagu Lodging, which is working as HTOT, has applied for 2 grants. They've already gone through our EDC as approval. One of them falls under infrastructure, the other one falls under new business and expansion. Our new business and expansion grant, we have, our agreement says that we will pay them $60,000 over the next 4 years. $15,000 when he opens the door. If he meets performances that we have set forth a year away, we give him $15,000, and again, $15,000 every year after that. That's to help him establish and keep that business here in town. We're also approved to give him $40,000 as an infrastructure grant to help him with the infrastructure of bringing in that facility and remodeling it and bring it up to date. That number, the 100,000 basically came in as he put in his application. His application showed, we asked him a lot, a business plan and all of his expenses and so forth. We took that and we went to a company that does impact analysis. What impact will that business have on our city? And from that, that's how we found out what we set a number to incentivize him. That basically that incentivization number would be paid back to us over a period of 5 years. So that's what we're asking, is that y'all basically ratify what the EDC board has approved to say that we want to give him these two grants. Any questions?
Okay, I make the motion that we ratify the incentive grants from the Economic Development Corporation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's nice to see these grants finally kicking off, and
Yeah, I mean, it was slow to start, but we're getting some. We got some big, we have some other people now applying for some of our smaller ones. It's to get a large one is going to take a pretty good sized business anyway.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that this maybe, as we start marketing it, people realize step up and apply for them, because we still have some in our funding that we set, in our budget that we can still give away. And then we're looking at trying to do again next year. Try to bring in some more of these businesses and help them get started.
Great.
Thank you very much.
thank you, Joe. Item number 8, report from staff on March financials. Did we vote on 7?
Yes.
We voted on 7. didn't we?
Okay, I have a 3-hour presentation, so sit back and relax. So let's go from there. There might be no one left, but what I did this time is I decided, this has been the 6 months bit. We're halfway through the year, so I decided to go focus on the first 6 months compared to budgets. Because a lot of times we show you the month and then we do, and I think we overkill you with numbers. And I'd like to keep it a little bit simpler, although I have 10,000 numbers, so I apologize for that immediately. So let's go through the first one on the general fund. And what I'm going to do is, like normal, they have done in the past, give you a revenue and expense, make a couple comments through the different funds. And then for the general fund and the water fund, I'll go a little bit more detail across board, and I'm open to questions. What I'll probably do is after I do the overall summary, I'll stop, see if you have any questions, and then I'll do the same thing under the general fund and the water fund. So if you tell me to hurry up, I can do that too. So, okay, from the general fund, year to date, we, in the general fund revenue, we had a little over $6.4 million. Expenditures were 4.9 for net proceeds of about 1.5 million. That does not include the ERC. I kept the ERC separate because there's some different funding, and I'll show you that a little bit later where that funding is coming from. But when you put it together, it's a minus number across the board, and it really doesn't tell you what your day-to-day operation is. So that's the approach. The budget for the year is $9.1 million, both revenue and expenses. So our budget was a balanced budget. Year to date on revenue, we have 71% of the budget. And you say, okay, normally we do, because property tax is a big player in the first half of the year. And right now, we have probably about 98% of our property tax already we received. So it's a big, now that's a good thing and it's a bad thing, because second half of the year, we only get 2% of it. So you will have, and then again, that's why it looks so great first 6 months. I mean, they'll slowly drip down during the next 6 months of closing across the board. Expenditures were at 54%.
We got
Higher than,
Oh, I was just curious, where does that 71% compare year over year? Or did you look at that?
glad you asked that. Last year at this time, for the first 6 months, we did $6.2 million. We're at $6.4 million. So it's about $200,000 increase year over year. Does that help you? We're
Percentage wise though, is it pretty leveled out or?
it's pretty close to the 70%. It's normally 70 to, I would say, it's depending on which sale tax and permits and everything. It usually goes from 68 to 75% has been my experience. I just, it varies depending on the other items, but the big one is the property tax. Okay. So that's the general fund at 10,000 foot. Water fund, we had revenue this year of $1,370,000. We had expenditures of $1,191,000. And this is the first time on the 2021 CO, we had a payment, and it's the payment of interest. And we'll talk a little later, but we have 2 payments a year. The first payment that's done in February is the interest portion of the bond. The one in August is the one that you reduce the principal of the bond. So on that's how it comes about. And with newer bonds, it's almost all interest for the most part, and then it slowly cuts down and your principal goes up. So we have that. So what that said is right this moment, we have a loss of $544,000. Okay, not good. And I'll go a little more detail, but again, looking at last year, I always look at last year's first 6 months to this year's 6 months to get a comparison of where we're at. Last year, again, we had revenue this year of $1,370,000. Last year, we did $1,406,000. So it's about a $36,000 less revenue from last year to this year. I'm going to raise a little flag. I'm not raising a big flag yet. I'm going to raise a little flag to saying last year we had a lot of rain when I was here. This year we haven't, and we haven't seen the spike in water. Maybe it's been so cold that people have not planted quick enough or watering, but it's a little flag that we have to watch and make sure that we watch that kind. And I'll show you a water trend for the last couple of years. There's a chart later in the package that talks about that. So that is again, the loss last year was 438,000. So we had almost $439,000 loss last year. We have $544,000 this year. Again, we got to watch what we have. A side note, we are supposed to do a water rate study, and it didn't get completed. I've kicked that back up again with the folks that had it. We started it and we sort of put it on the shelf. I've started it back up because I want to see what that says. It doesn't say that we'll do anything with it, but I want some facts so I can come back to the council here and talk about our options, if there are any. And again, it may not be needed because if the summer is dry and the water is used, we'll catch up again. And I don't have that magic ball yet, but normally you'll see that spiking up. I just don't know how high it's going to spike up. Okay. The Economic Development Corp revenue was $585,000. And most of that is sales tax, their portion of sales tax, which is about 440,000. Interest, and you'll see this across the board, is when I did this last year as the finance director, you remember I talked about when I do revenue, I come very conservative. I usually, because there was a couple things that I wasn't sure what's going on. Whenever that is, you'd go conservative your revenue, you control your expenses better. And if the revenue goes above, you can raise your expenses, but it's hard going the other way. So the way we approached it last year that the council agreed to is that we'd be conservative in our revenue. Now, one of the things I wasn't so sure about was interest rate, because back in August last year, there was talk about lowering the interest rates and that they were going to have 3 or 4 drops over the next year. We haven't seen that so far in our bank accounts. Interest for the Economic Development Corporation for the first 6 months of this year has been $91,000. So it's a big piece of change across the board. We sold a couple lots for $47,000. And that's the 3 big ones right this moment for the water. I'm sorry, for the Economic Development Corporation. I'm sorry. Airport looks about right where it should be right this moment. The revenue is covering the expenses, so things look pretty good there. Revenue is a little higher than what we anticipated, but again, conservative, that doesn't surprise me. The Rio Blanca Lake Fund is $206,000 in revenue, and that is mostly coming from Dalhart and Delham contribute. They contribute for the each year, and they contribute $75,000 this year for the maintaining of the lake, and that's a big help. It helps us get a lot of things done. The city and EDC put in about $91,000 into the lake fund. And rentals so far this year has been about $38,000. That adding those all together, that's where you get about the $206,000. Okay, does that make sense? Expenses have been about 113, so they're positive about $93,000. But again, we put upfront those funds, and we'll slowly whittle those down during the year, because the big chunks, the 166,000 of it is a one-time shot. It's not a monthly shot, but it's a one-time shot. Okay. Hotel motel tax. We have received for the first 6 months of this year, $359,000. What we have expensed or given out is about $74,000, $74,000. So that leaves a net proceed of $284,000. I have been working with the attorney, also with Kevin Cadell, who's part of the hot tax, to get a clarity of what the new rules meant and what does that impact to our folks here, including the chamber. So we're looking at ways across the board of getting clarity of what the law said. And Brian's team gave us an excellent summary of a 2-page summary talking about what can and cannot be used based upon the categories across. So it's a lot clearer that we can go work with the folks that we normally give funds to. We have the money, so why not try to go use it? Unless you guys tell me not to, but I'm only kidding. A little levity here in counting, it's finances a little bit.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to ask how much of this remaining money is currently dedicated?
Don't know that, but you still also have another half year of hot money coming in. So normally you'll see more expenses come out, but right now I don't know what that number is. I want to say oh, I don't want to say, because I don't know that off the top of my head, and I'd rather not say what that is, but there is a budget across the board.
But in reality of it is, we do not have the proceeds availability.
Are you talking about the 284
Yeah, because we have a bunch of it is dedicated.
that we've already put out saying like for the last,
So
those meetings that we said, what, 111?
Yeah, we've already dedicated.
Like 111, wasn't it, somewhere around there?
That's what I was gonna check.
It's like 111,000,
So,
somewhere around
wind
there.
energy is 90,000.
It'd be north of that.
Yeah.
It almost cleared the bank when we did, it. We had $30,000 left. After the council approved the,
But that's for this year. We have also,
yes.
6 more months.
On this year's cycle, yes, sir.
but that we have other funds that from previous years that we haven't spent over the last few years. So you do have some reserve across the board. Kathy Scott.
I guess my point here is just that there is dedicated funds. I mean.
Yeah, yes, there is. There's just not, but you're also not playing, the hot tax is not going to go away either for the second.
I'm not, that's not what I'm implying, sir, but it's just. We don't have a lot of available funds under the current budget.
Okay, the current budget is $155,000 that we have committed, or we said we would commit.
That's dedicated. Yes, sir. Thank you.
155 out of 284.
But that did not include some other opportunities coming down the road. Like that's nothing for the, got my mind just went blank.
Well, we have one we still need to address.
That's correct. And that's the one,
Remember,
the chamber, and that's the one I'll be working on. And come back with you guys probably next month on that. Okay? Welcome. Okay. On the fleet, the revenue is just the charges that the departments pay for the use of those vehicles. So it's an internal charge across the board. There has been a grant for $240,000 that the fire department was able to obtain for us for the new fire truck. So they did a great job of getting that to get if you haven't seen it, it is a magnificent piece of equipment that will last longer than probably me. So it's going to be me and probably my kids, but it's a beautiful piece of equipment. You asked about, one of the part with enterprises, we were supposed to go take our old stuff and try to go sell it back through users. So far this year, for the first 6 months, we have sold $82,000. But it's been 22 vehicles, so it's about $4,000 a vehicle. Again, some of the stuff we had was in bad shape. We have another 6 that we just sent down for auction, and we're working on another 6 after that to bring down to auction. So who knows what that's going to be, but we have 82 in the bank right this moment with another 12 cars or trucks to go through the process.
Will that go in the general fund?
That will be going to the general fund, yes. And then we talk about the refinancing of the 21 and 20 COs, and again, it's the monthly interest for both of those in February, and then the principal will become in August. Okay, that's the 10,000 foot level. Any other questions before I go talk to people?
Back on the general fund, you said we were $500,000 in the hole, is that correct?
Not in general fund. Not in general fund yet.
Okay.
The water fund, you can't just put across funds. So it's the water fund, we're about 544,000 in the hole. Last year at this time, we were $438,000 and as a loss. Okay. The next portion is staffing. We have budgeted for 69. We have 55 right this moment. So we're down 14 folks. We've had a lot of turnover in the last 2 months, but we got our team back together, and I'm feeling good. I told Tommy he's going to have to go raid some other cities for experienced police officers. That seems to be the toughest thing right this moment. He has 5 openings right this moment, and we need to go find some senior people, but it's been extremely hard. And one of the other options we're gonna do come August, the academy's coming. And Tommy's been out there looking at potential candidates. And you have how many?
At least 12, right?
12 candidates. And
Homegrown program or,
It'd be similar to that, yes, sir.
I mean,
Nobody is already certified as applied. Yeah. So we implemented pretty much the homegrown program, and out of 12, I would say probably 8 of those are local.
I think that's a good way to go, because then they already know what Dalhart is.
And even if we have 5,
Mhm.
my recommendation would, if we had 8 really good candidates, you send the 8. Because you never know which ones will not go through the academy, or we lose another person or two. So you can blame me after I'm gone when this all happens and you're out of budget. So, but in general, you have to go get aggressive on that to go get caught up. Would be my comment. Again, it's your call. I just advise. Other places, we're down 2 in parks, 3 in water. We have shuffled things around in water, is that the wastewater is fully staffed now. I'm down 3 in groundwater. And we're working on looking for those folks. Obviously, you need a city manager. And also the one in community development, I am not planning on fulfilling right this moment until I see what the plans are for the next year's budget. I don't think we need to. I've added some resources from the finance group. That's someone who's been very interested in doing that. So she's doing the finance group and also helping out with the activities that now we've cut that way back down also. What we were originally planning in the budget was do something once a month. I've cut that down right this moment. The plan is we're going to do one in June. Then we're going to support the police and fire in July. And then we may do something in October for a fall battle, what?
And fall event.
The fall event. And Joe is doing a lot of the planning with the.
Or focusing, which is.
Yeah, and there's 2 of them that volunteered who loves doing that stuff. They went out and already set up we already have the artists for the June 15th. We're working now with the chamber. And there seems to be some excitement there to work together again. So I think we started. All I can say is we're not there yet. We're not all hands in hands, but I think we're making baby steps. And that's the way we need to do. Okay? So that is where we're at on people. Questions on that? We just need to find some qualified folks, and we need to get some folks that have certifications.
I guess the question of in the police department, if you do have 8 applicants you want to do on the homegrown, will that change your hiring practices, or will you just be dependent on hoping that they get through the academy?
I would say I hope everybody gets through the academy. Climate right now, I've got friends that are cops elsewhere, and nobody wants to come. Nobody wants to move.
If one popped up, you would go ahead and.
But since I did that last Facebook post where I just said, hey, come work for me, I've had people from Oklahoma, New Mexico, had a lot of people reach out. So I think that's gonna be our only option.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to the general fund. On the revenue side, you heard what there was at $6.4 million. Most of it is tax. That's both property tax and sales tax, which is about $4.6 million of that, which is about 69% of taxes. The overall revenue is at 71, which is what we talked about before. We have permits. What would surprise me a little bit when I looked at the numbers is permits. We had in the budget $44,000, which was basically flat from year to year or a little bit down. We already have over $35,000 in permits, a variety of different permits across the board. So it's not just one area, it's construction, and that's a good sign. That's always a good sign to go do that. Interest earned for general fund. You're wild with the EDC. Interest earned that we had a budget of $60,000. So far, after the first 6 months, we have $248,000 worth of interest. You should fire that last finance director who didn't know what he was doing. So that's me. So let you know. But again, being conservative, and this is a pleasant upside. Again, we get a little more flexibility now than if I said it was going to be $200,000. Again, that's the approach I think is the most conservative across the board. TxDOT. I thought we would get some money from TxDOT from last year when I left here because there's when they're finally done, they hold 10% of what they give you back until the very end, and then they give you one lump sum. This year we have received nothing right this moment, although we did get additional expenses of another $225,000, where we think that the funds from TxDOT will come for the second half of the year will be over $500,000. That's what our calculation is showing. Now, I don't count it until we see it, but right now there is some upside there that would help us with keeping our expenses and getting to a budget that we will be able to make as a city. Okay?
Why have we not received anything from them?
It's paperwork. Don't seem around right format, or what they have to do right this moment. They had a budget of this and it turned out to be a little bit less. So they have to do a budget amendment. It's the catch right this moment that we're trying to fight through. And we can't do anything about it. It's the two areas in TxDOT that have to go get that approved. Just like if I came back for a budget amendment for this council, it takes time. And then they do 10,000 of these things. So it's like it's not a high priority, but we're calling them every week and say where we're at. So all I can do is nudge as much as we can. I have Valerie who does a good job of nudging those, and me too. So she nudges me as much. So that's where we're at right this moment. So again, TxDOT, we didn't have anything in the budget for the expense, so it's 225. We had nothing for TxDOT for money for income coming back. Again, that was my conservatism of not putting anything in that until you have it. And we think we're going to get a plus. We've already spent the 225, so that's in the expense. The 500 is something that'll be happening in the second half. Okay. Splash pad. I'm going to tell you good, the bad, and the ugly, guys. I'd rather have let me go. The splash pad has overrun what we thought the projection was. Right now, we have about $47,000 worth of expenses this year on the splash pad. The budget was $5 million. Now, we still are waiting for Texas Park and Wildlife to give us approximately another $12,000 back to cover their expenses. Again, we paid up front. We go in and apply for a reimbursement. We're down to the last $12,000. So again, we're over. I don't have enough details to tell you what that is, but at least wanted to let you know that we're probably going to be over $28,000 is what I think it's going to be. Okay. Let's see some of the highlights. Sales tax, even though it's doing well, it's running behind about $58,000 from what it was last year for the first 6 months. Again, not as much money as we go run through. If it's cold and had a bad winter up here, windy, then probably didn't have as much, tourism or whatever. So I'm not that concerned about that right this moment. The other thing is the court. They have received 99% of the revenue so far this year. She's doing a fabulous job. She is, I sit and watch her talk to folks, help them work it through, send out notices, trying to get things easier for the folks to pay. And it's showing, in my opinion. And she's very documented, regiment, repeatable processes. So we're real lucky to have her as a judge here. Let's see. The seal coat bid is completed and the project will start in August or July, depending on the weather. and that's with G&G, just to let you know on that. Okay. The ERC. I went over there a couple weeks ago and walked through and seen what was going on. They're making good progress on there. I really like Miss Walker, who's the architect there. She is top notch. She's on the things. She goes, okay, this is where we're at. And she pulls the drawings out. They say something, say, okay, let's go look at the drawings. And so she's making sure that, and then if there's a change, she writes it on the drawings and initials it. So I like the discipline that she has. And I think she keeps telling me it's going to be done by the middle of September. So I'll be jumping up and down if that's the case. I've not had a project yet to come in, and it's a little bit under budget right this moment too. So we're looking at what other things, I mentioned a couple of things for them to look at. And they're looking to see what that would cost if we added a couple of things. So nothing major, nothing big, but I'm letting her go run with it, and it seems like she's running with it well. So anytime any of you want to go look at it, it's a little dusty right this one. They're doing a lot of drywall, so it's a little dusty, but happy to go take you across the board. Where is the funding for this emergency resource center? One is we had a CO that was $2.5 million that counted. We also had some COVID grants that we haven't used yet that we're going to apply to that. That's another $2.1 million worth of it. And then where it's coming out of our reserve is another 1.5. So we think the budget was about $5,778,000 was what the original budget was. Right now, if we do nothing else and it falls going, she thinks she's going to have at least it will be under budget by $100,000. Now, don't quote me on that. Just again, we're way too early, but that's the number she mentioned to me, that it'll be at least $100,000 right this moment, if not more, because everything's going smoothly across the board. Okay, so that's what it says. Expenditures to date. That's for the first 2 years. When I said expenditures to date, this is from the start of the project. It was $2.6 million, a little less than $2.6 million. We still have $3.2 million to go to pay out yet. Questions on that? I know that we don't talk about that. I don't know how much you have talked about that, but I think that our number one project here to go and make sure that we do this right and within budget. So I feel, the problem is I feel too confident. I think it's never as good as it seems. It's never as bad as it seems, but it is something that I have a lot of confidence in the person who's running the project. So don't tell her that, or else she's going to raise her prices on us. So the next one that you had talks about the sales tax. If you look, because it has a 3-year trend, it looks like it's okay. I mean, I just don't know, unless we have a real bad summer or whatever. I think it's going to go flow as it's flown over the last 3 years. So questions on that? Water. The biggest change is, don't forget, we're at 50% of the year. Water meter sales are the ones that are only at 30% of what we budgeted. So we got to be a little careful with that and watch that and see what we need to do. Again, if it doesn't rain, it's probably going to fix itself. I hate to say that, but that doesn't do well for the farmers or the ranchers and that. But I don't know. If not, we will look at it, and again, the goal is to get some money out of this. This is water is a business. And if not, we need to go look at what's causing the cost and what we need to do. And then for city management to come back to the council with options of what we found out with the rate study and what actuals happened for the last 3 or 4 years. That's the approach I would take to go look and make sure we understand what is the cost, what we're spending it on for the last 3 or 4. I like 3-year trends, the 4-year trends, because it really tells you what you're doing and what's people costs, what's capital and those type of things. So, okay. The Texas Boulevard Water Tank Project has started in February. And High Plains has estimated another 6 more weeks to complete the project. He came back with a design on the tank, and I think you just keep it simple and saying Dalhart and not, he had something about the XIT city. I'm not sure I would want to put that on the tank. They showed me a design. I said I didn't like it, but if you like something else, let me know, because they'll be start painting it again.
We'd like to see those designs as they come in.
Okay, right now it's just, I have copies of it, and I'm happy to give that to you. Okay. The next slide was talking about the water across the board. So again, nothing that comes across except for it's just a little bit down each month from what normally for the first 6 months this year compared to last year or the year before. So just we've got to be careful with it, watch it, see what if we need to go say what can we hold back, or are we putting some investments in there that we can delay. We got to that's part of my job to come back and make recommendations for that. But again, if we don't provide water to the city, I'm packing my bags before you hang me, and it's across the board. So, water is your most important asset besides safety. If you don't have water for the city, you'll have full crowds of council meetings across the board. Okay. Again, the last slide is our cash and investment. As of the end of March, we had $18,250,883 worth of cash on hand. Now, part of it, most of it, I would say, is restricted or committed funds, things that we cannot spend on any other activities except for the activities that we have. And that's $10,562 and let's see, $10,562,159, which leaves about 7,398,526 left in what he call unrestricted. So you could use that on any activity within the general fund. That's what it is. That's my last slide, and I'm done.
So on the restricted committed funds portion,
Yep.
what are the bulk of those dollars?
It's the ERC. It is the which ones gives the scholarships out?
Did you, Betty? Did you?
Jenkins.
Yeah.
Billy Jenkins.
Or any other commitment that we have. If you like, I will go present next time what the detail of that uncommitted is. But most of it, if you assume 10 of it, we have probably 3.2 there. Anything that we on the parks, if there was something that we needed across the board. So I'm happy to bring that back to you. I just don't have that on the tip of my
Are
tongue.
you still paying on the transfer station,
Yeah.
Clean Water Project?
No. The reclaim project is fully paid down to about $4,000. The transfer station is, we still have probably $100,000 of payments to make, but the transfer station, we have a game plan. I'm hoping to get it up and running within the next 30 to 45 days. The water reclaim project, I'm working on, that's going to be a longer deal. We're doing that in stages. The stages is to make sure the pumps work, the pressure's right, and then we'll take it because it goes up a hill. I didn't realize that, 1/4 mile. I mean, it slowly goes up a hill and then makes a right into the park. There is a small fire hydrant there, and we're going to go make sure everything works to that fire hydrant. And then we'll move off to stage 2, 3, and 4 to go complete the project. That one, depending on the lines, how bad the lines are, because it's been not used for what, 2 years? I don't know what the sediment has done to the sprinkler heads. But we have a game plan. I get a weekly update on those 2 projects. We're gonna keep doing that until we get it completed. And then we could pay off. I'm not taking ownership of the transfer station until it's done. And everybody knows that. So we'll see. Anything else?
Again, welcome.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Thank y'all.